Hi, my name is Cindela Walters, and this is my final video presentation. I will discuss current events and how they relate to global trends that have been the topic of our weekly lecture. I will discuss the trends in migration, population, and health and diseases, and how these trends impact the missions of the church. Last week, the BBC reported that there has been an increase in those that have been crossing the border going into the UK. They said that the increase is probably due to the conditions in West Africa and the Middle East. So many are coming into the UK looking for work, or perhaps to migrate, or to spend time with family or friends who've already migrated there. They do see this as a problem, the UK, and they're trying to strengthen their borders. Now, migration is considered one of the defining issues of the 21st century. Because of technology, more and more people move today than at any other point in human history. About 3% of the world's population live in a country where they were not born. Right now, we see that the highest immigration is actually occurring in Muslim countries because of the jobs that they have may be too numerous for the local population to do, or it may be beyond their expertise. Most foreign workers, once they complete the job, do return home to their families. Now, the church will need to prepare for massive immigration. As in the news of UK, many people are leaving economically depressed areas to find work in areas that are faring well. And Christians need to be more sensitive to the plight of the immigrant and actually offer them assistance. The Bible does command the believers to be merciful and to the stranger and to share our abundance with them. Spiritually, this can be a time that we can really exemplify the gospel. Population. The story from Seoul is that the Seoul Metropolitan Government is actually setting up a group where foreign residents can come together and they can talk about policies that can help that foreign population. The number of immigrants in Seoul has actually doubled in 2007, and immigrants count as 4% of the city's population. And last year there was about 74,000 complaints from foreigners. 1 in 25 Seoul residents are foreigners, and they tend to stay there for 10 years. So Seoul is one of those countries that's also experiencing migration and increased population. As a matter of fact, in East Asia, in which Korea is a part of, is one of the world's top 5 populous areas. The others are South Asia, Southeast Asia, Europe, Mediterranean, and the Americas. China is the world's most populous country, but its massive population is slowing down in growth because of the one-child policy. The policy has caused a massive imbalance, mainly because there's now such a large population of males in their society. And by about 2025, India is going to become the world's most populous country. The United States did publish a long-range projection that predicts in 60 years there will be a disproportionate in the population, meaning that there will be some parts of the world that will be declining in population and others will still experience a growth spurt. Now, tensions may increase because where there is most growth, historically, the governments have been involved in corruption. There's been inequalities and inadequate education. And yet the nations that are declining in population tend to have a healthier environment, more free, and there's more economic resources. So the poorer and larger populations will either fight to grab a portion of that prosperity, or they'll want to move to that nation to earn it. So Christians need to find ways perhaps to help build schools in those populations or those areas that are highly populated, and introduce businesses as missions in these areas to strengthen those countries. Churches should reach out to the young populations of Africa and even the aging populations in Asia, and be aware of these figures so it can help us find our niche throughout the world. Health and disease. A report came out in Kenya, or news report, that said Kenya has the fourth largest HIV epidemic in the world. In 2012, an estimated 1.6 million people were living with HIV, and about 57,000 people died from AIDS-related illnesses. The government, or the governor of this city in Kenya, the capital, he was saying that in his country about 633 people, including 34 children, were currently being treated. The problem is that 75% of those who are infected were not seeking treatment. The good news is that in the last 3 years, 48 children in that area were born to infected mothers, but successfully the intervention worked. It was successful, and they did not contract the HIV virus from their mothers. Now, population growth and poverty have made it easier for diseases, for example, that was specific to certain animal population, to jump over to the human population. Pandemics were less likely thousands of years ago because there was less interaction with animals, there was less global travel, and so now pandemics are an enormous threat, and we see things like HIV, Ebola, SARS, and countries are concerned, and their concerns are valid. So, how are we as Christians preparing ourselves? Ever since Jesus Christ laid hands on the sick, it has been a Christian hallmark to want to heal the sick. So Christians and missions should train people in particular areas and show them how to avoid diseases in the first place. There is a correlation, unfortunately, with the HIV virus, with adultery and drug use and sex prior to marriage. And so all of this, Christianity does have a solution for some of the diseases that we do see. And so it's imperative that Christians share this information, so not only handing out condoms, but also giving them practical advice, practical Christian advice on how they can live their lives safer. Over 25 million have died as a result of AIDS, and 2 million children are living with HIV, and 15 million children have lost one or both parents to AIDS. Tragic situations are a perfect opportunity for the church to go in and heal, not only physically, but also spiritually. That concludes my report.